Tomorrow, March 28, 2026, Memorial Stadium will open its gates at 9:30 a.m. for the so-called traditional red-white spring game under Matt Rhule. Kickoff at 11 a.m. Central Time on what the athletic department wants you to believe is a return to normal. Do not be fooled. This is no celebration of football. This is the grim one-year anniversary of April 26, 2025. The exact date the Nebraska Journal-Herald documented in excruciating detail as the day Nebraska football died, when Rhule, Troy Dannon, Jeffrey P. Gold, and the entire non-Nebraskan leadership cabal replaced a proud spring tradition with a pathetic carnival of skills competitions, last-minute depth-only scrimmages, and public humiliation that exposed the program's rot for the entire country to see. And at the absolute center of that irreversible destruction stands Dylan Raiola, the five-star, #1 quarterback prospect in America, whose arrival was supposed to be the foundation for a new era, only for Rhule's incompetence, scheme rigidity, offensive line betrayal, and toxic staff to drive him straight out the door to Oregon in January 2026. Raiola came to Nebraska as the generational talent every Husker fan dreamed of, a 6'3", 230-pound pro-style drop-back passer with elite arm talent, football intelligence, and family bloodlines that tied him directly to the program. His uncle Donovan Raiola was kept on staff as offensive line coach specifically to lock in that family commitment, with younger brother Dayton Raiola already committed for 2026. This was not just a recruit, this was legacy. The kind of blue-chip cornerstone that could have stabilized the quarterback room for years, attracted more top talent, and finally given Nebraska a real shot in the Big Ten. Instead, Rhule and his hand-picked defensive coordinators Marcus Satterfield and Dana Holgorsen treated Raiola like a square peg for their round-hole system. They refused to build an offense around his natural strengths, scanning the field, delivering accurate short to intermediate throws, and making smart decisions, and instead forced him into slow-developing plays that exposed him behind an offensive line that was fundamentally broken. The numbers do not lie and cannot be spun. Over 2 seasons, Raiola started 22 games, completed nearly 70% of his passes for thousands of yards and dozens of touchdowns, including a record-setting 72.4% completion rate in 2025, where he threw for 2,000 yards and 18 scores in just 9 games before a season-ending broken fibula suffered against USC. Yet, that production came despite, not because of, the support around him. The offensive line surrendered 54 sacks in those 2 years, including 30 in 2025 alone and 27 hits on Raiola in those 9 starts. Donovan Raiola's unit never instilled the fundamentals needed to protect a franchise quarterback, and when the staff finally fired him, it triggered the complete family exodus. Dayton decommitted immediately, the legacy ties were severed forever, and Raiola himself saw the writing on the wall. Rhule's micromanaging, the coordinator's stubborn coach speak, the refusal to adapt schemes to the line's obvious weaknesses. All of it left Raiola taking unnecessary shots, absorbing brutal pressure, and watching his development stall while the program crumbled around him. That collapse reached its public nadir exactly 1 year ago in the 2025 Husker Games. The event we chronicled across multiple devastating reports as the moment Nebraska football's soul was executed in broad daylight. Rhule had spent months hyping a family-friendly replacement for the traditional spring game. 7-on-7 drills, NFL-style skills competitions, food trucks, tours, volleyball, and soccer showcases. Fans bought tickets expecting something that at least resembled football. Then, 9 days before the event, Rhule pulled the rug out with a limited, depth-only scrimmage for walk-ons, reserves, and bubble players fighting for roster spots under the new 105-man limit. The 7-on-7 flag football? Scrapped. The real skills competitions that remained? A national embarrassment reel. Quarterbacks missing targets at 30 to 50 yards. Bench press reps that looked high school level. Tractor pulls. Roping mechanical cows. Wing-eating contests. And every other sideshow that screamed, this program has lost its identity. Attendance cratered to fewer than 10,000 fans in a stadium built for 85,000. Lincoln businesses bled millions. The Sea of Red was a ghost town, and the entire country watched Nebraska football die on live display. We laid it out then, and we lay it out now. That debacle was not an isolated mistake. It was the direct result of the same leadership rot that failed Dylan Raiola. Rhule proposed it. Dannon signed off. Gold looked the other way, while the Board of Regents rubber-stamped the insult to generations of Huskers. Non-Nebraskans with zero connection to this state, Rhule from New York, Dannon from Iowa, Gold from the East Coast, decided they knew better than the hard-nosed spring tradition that built Memorial Stadium into a cathedral. They replaced football with clown shows and called to progress. They exposed the roster's lack of fundamentals, the coaching staff's disconnect, and the program's hollow core. And the cascade was immediate and permanent. Recruiting collapsed. In-state blue chippers stopped even considering Nebraska. The transfer portal became a revolving door of exits instead of entries. Fan trust evaporated. And most devastatingly, Dylan Raiola, the face of the program, the leader who had stepped up as team spokesperson, saw enough. By January 2026, he was gone to Oregon, taking the last shred of elite quarterback hope with him. His departure is not a reset. It is the final nail in the coffin that the 2025 Husker Games began hammering 1 year ago today. Now, on the eve of the 2026 spring game, Nebraska is forced to start over at quarterback once again. The current room consists of Anthony Colandrea, TJ Lateef, Daniel Kaelin, and Bode Soukup, none of whom are Dylan Raiola. Not one carries his arm talent, his leadership, his five-star pedigree, or his family legacy. And here is the brutal truth that every Husker fan must confront. It does not matter who stands under center tomorrow or next fall. Matt Rhule will ruin them exactly the way he ruined Dylan Raiola. The same rigid schemes, the same failure to protect, the same toxic staff dynamics, the same non-Nebraskan arrogance that prioritizes coach speak over results will chew up these quarterbacks and spit them out. The offensive line that betrayed Raiola is still being rebuilt. The coordinators who refuse to adapt are still calling plays. The leadership that orchestrated the 2025 disaster is still in charge. No program recovers from this level of self-inflicted ruin. Not when you publicly execute your own tradition on national television. Not when you drive away the #1 quarterback prospect who chose you. Not when recruiting dries up, family legacies are torched, and fans walk away in disgust. Nebraska football did not stumble in 2025. It was pushed off a cliff by people who never understood or never cared what this program means to the state that built it. Tomorrow's spring game is not a preview of a brighter future. It is a memorial service for what was lost when Dylan Raiola walked out the door. The red and white jerseys will take the field, but the ghost of April 26, 2025, and the ghost of the quarterback who was supposed to save us will be standing right there on the sideline. Permanent proof that some mistakes are not recoverable, some leaders cannot be trusted, and some damage to Nebraska football is forever. The day Nebraska football died had a date. It had a ticket price. It had a roster full of kids humiliated in skills competitions, while the real talent packed up and left. 1 year later, the bleeding continues. The quarterback room is starting over with lesser options, and Matt Rhule is still at the wheel driving what remains straight into the ground. There is no redemption arc coming. Only the truth we have documented from the beginning. Under this leadership, Nebraska football has been ruined forever.